How much do you love yourself? This is the question which I always ask people when they come to my office. And very often people say, oh, of course I love myself. And then as you look at their life, you realize, nah, you don't. Because your life is behind, your health is behind, your income is behind, and your relationship, as a result, is also behind. Well, what can I say? Today, I have the goddess of self-love, an amazing, fabulous friend of mine, Diana Grant, who is, you'll be surprised, she's a coach, an author, and course creatress. She's an ambassador of self-love. And what she does, she actually shares love. If you check your social media, oh my God, it's so hot. It is full of love. Diana, welcome to the show. How are you today?
Thanks, Olga. I'm very, very well, thanks. I'm very happy to be here. Thank you for having me. How are you?
Pleasure. It's a pleasure. I'm doing really well, and even better after seeing you. And look at you. You're just blooming. You're just glowing. You're just looking amazing.
Thank you. I can say the same for you, my darling.
Oh, thank you so much. That's so nice to hear. I was so excited to have you on the show because your book, it's so life-changing. Talking about self-love is something so, so important. And whilst we have people joining us, and I'm sure we're going to have some comments and some questions probably as well, maybe some situations, I would like to find out what actually made you to write that book. And if you could be that with us, really honest and really vulnerable, I would love to know, because I'm sure there's a magical story behind it.
Well, it's actually quite a long story. Yeah, I remember as a child being very confused when I would see adult people in the world doing like sort of mean things and ugly things, and I was always convinced there's a better way to live. But of course, I had to go down this road of trying out all the mean and ugly and horrible things, and as we do, things that were not self-loving at all. And obviously with every experience, I just came to a renewed sense of love is the answer. But from a very young age, I kept saying love is the answer, but then I'd, try things and they wouldn't work out, and I'd end up causing myself harm and discomfort and pain, and realizing again, love is the answer. But I wasn't aware of what it really meant. I think that's what it was all about. I just had to figure out, what does that mean? So love is the answer, love is the answer. I used to have a real thing for Jesus, the guy in the Bible. I thought he was amazing. I still think he's what an amazing character. All the lessons that he taught and led by. And then I discovered Buddha, and I discovered all sorts of other spiritual teachings, and I've sort of read them all and followed them all, and they all come back to one thing, and that's love. And but for me, it was a very profound moment that I had one day. I was actually speaking for the first time. I've always spoken a lot, and I've been comfortable speaking in front of groups of people. But it was the first kind of formal public speaking event, and it was quite big. There were about 750 people, which for me, going from small groups to that was quite a jump. And as I was walking up to the stage, I actually had a vision. And I had been thinking about the topic that I was going to speak about, and it was about self-love, and it was about claiming gifts, the spiritual gifts that we're born with, and that if we don't claim them and use them, we're basically wasting our life and not living the life that we're here to live. And I had this clear vision that I had to do what I knew I had to do, and that was a book. And that I knew what it had to be about. It had to be about love, and that in doing that, I would break chains, but chains of like centuries old DNA, spiritual DNA, human DNA, just this programming, and that it would spread ripples. I get goosebumps when I think about it, because it was so profound. So as I was walking up to the stage, I literally had a vision, because I was watching my steps, to get up the steps, and I thought, oh my goodness, I'm not even looking where I'm going, because I'm busy seeing this other vision. And it was amazing. It was just so clear, and I knew what I had to do. And since that day, it was just a burning passion. So, yeah.
Wow, this is so amazing. The thing is, when we are connected with ourselves, we actually do channel a lot more information and we do get the answers and we do get what we need to do. So it's amazing how actually you just channel that and it just came to you. Do you think it was something to do with you already being on the journey, loving yourself more, or do you think it wasn't?
It was definitely about that. So as I mentioned in my early life, I tried all sorts of things and they didn't work out. And it was a strange timing because I was married at the time and my husband and I had come to a point where we realized our relationship wasn't quite what either of us wanted as a full-time life for ourselves. And we were trying various things. And it was in that time that I really started tapping into this whole self-love journey. And the idea of sharing what I was learning just kept coming to me. You have to share this. You have to share this. And I've always loved writing. And since I was in school, I had this dream of writing a book. And so that's how it kind of became one. Like, this is how you're going to share it, first with the book. So, yeah.
Oh, that's so exciting. And you know what? I can't wait for you to share the impact of lack of self-love with people, because it's something what like personally yourself, and as a result you wrote the book, and it's something that also I know, and also we both know that our clients know, but I would want you to share how it impacts people if we don't have that self-love, and if we could during this session to also share with people how people can raise their self-love, how they can start loving themselves more. That would be amazing, Diana. Could we do that today?
Absolutely. Let's do that.
Exciting. So what would you say is the impact on people's lives, on their relationships, their businesses, their income? I know, wherever you think, what is the impact on people's lives if they don't love themselves?
Okay, that's a big one. So the way I see it is just when you don't love yourself, you tend to lose your center. And my experience was that I was being pulled in all these different directions. How do I do my best? If I don't even know what my best is, I need to follow that person or listen to that person and chase money or chase a better job, chase a better car. It was always looking out and trying to find a solution outside of myself. And this feeling of desperation and wearing out, like running out of energy, running out of steam. My experience was that I carried weight. I carried quite a lot of extra weight on my body. So I think that's kind of, I love Louise Hay and her metaphysical stuff. And I really believe that we carry weight on our bodies as a protection. And if you're not loving yourself, how do other people know how to love you? And if you're not receiving love anywhere, then you need protection. So yeah, I was carrying weight. I was tired, but I still wasn't sleeping properly. I wasn't performing my best, basically because by not loving myself, I hadn't yet tapped into what my best was. My thing is, if you're looking away from something all the time, you don't want to see it, you're not going to see it. You're not going to be able to appreciate it. And it's the same with ourselves. So when I started looking at me and really getting to know me and consciously loving myself, that's when I was really able to discover my own value. And as soon as I discovered my own value, I was able to offer my own value. I became more courageous. I became more true to who I am. And I started showing up. And by showing up in my life, everything improved. So work improved, home life improved, me being a mom improved. It's just, all the relationships in my life improved. So,
Gosh, girl, I still love the way how you say, since I started working on myself and loving myself more, everything got improved. And that's the thing. I always say you cannot give an apple to somebody if you don't have an apple. If I don't have a glass of water to myself, I can't offer a glass of water to you. So when people sometimes argue and they say, well, self-love is selfish, I'm saying, no, it's not. Self-love is actually self-care. It's something what we cannot live without. And if we don't have it, we can't give it to others. And thank you so much for sharing that. Actually, it does impact relationships. It does impact your decisions. It does impact your relationship with your children as well. Because how often we see parents running around with their children like headless chickens and they just don't know what to do with themselves, right? But it's because they train their children that they can disrespect parents, they can disrespect mom and dad, they can just do whatever they want, and because they don't claim that spot. I love that. So it is basically a feeling when you're not connected, when you feel pulled apart, when you don't feel satisfied, when things just don't go right. Are there any other symptoms which you would say indicates that you don't have enough of self-love and you need to work on it? What else do you think is that?
I think sort of obvious symptoms is a lack of self-care, because I do think self-care and self-love go hand in hand. I'm passionate about self-care.
Yeah.
And I think it's a lovely step into self-love. If you don't know where to start, self-care is great. And often when you see that self-care is missing, that's an indication. Also when, like you said earlier, when things aren't working and there are specific areas in your life, because I think when there's a lack of self-love, what we're not doing is getting quiet and sitting with ourselves and connecting with our own truth. And so the symptoms of that is that things start going wrong. And it's really because you're not listening to your own inner guidance. You're not connected to who you are. And when that self-love is missing, and like you say, you've given away all your apples because you haven't kept on for yourself. So you get left feeling empty. So then there's anger, frustration, resentment of others, jealousy, basically all the negative emotions that bring us down and make us feel bad, I think are direct symptoms of a lack of self-love.
I love it. This is so good. I mean, we even have really, really relevant comment here. And I must say, thank you so much, everybody who joined us. We have people on both platforms, YouTube and Facebook right now. So thank you so much. We have Maria saying, hello, ladies. And Howard is like, hi, Maria, don't forget the gentleman. Yes, we don't forget about you, Howard. Yes. We have a question here from Vinit Ambat. He asks, how to identify the thin line between self-love and being self-centered?
That is such a good question. You know that I always like to say, Olga, that there's a difference between selfish and self-centered.
Yes.
And selfish is what we were talking about, is making sure there's some water in your glass so that you can offer it, making sure that there are some apples in your basket so that you can offer somebody an apple. And I think that's the thin line, is when you become self-centered, there's no thought of service. The whole element of service gets lost along the way, and you become very wrapped up in yourself. Self-centeredness is this word that people love to use, is the narcissist, and it turns into more of a self-obsession, and it's all me, me, me. And I think that's the key, is self-love leads to service. It actually leads to better service because you have more connection with yourself and more to offer. You're happy to offer it. Whereas self-centered narcissism, the service element is missing. So there's no generosity, there's no sharing, there's no giving. I think that's the key.
So basically, when you look at somebody and you see that they're not generous, they're not sharing, they're quite, all about them, then you know they don't have love towards themselves.
I think so. And a lot of times I think people might think that they do, because they'll be like, look, that person is so groomed and got it together and all into themselves. But if you just watch for a little bit more, how do you feel when you interact with that person? Or how do you feel when you watch that person interacting? Are they actually confident, truly confident? Do they have that inner peace? Are they sharing? Are they giving? Are they being generous with themselves, their time, their energy? And I think that's where you see the answer.
I love the way how you already answered that question, because I had a question about that. What about those people who you look at them and they got things together? They look great and they sound great and they look like they're in a sense of attention, and they're like, everybody thinks like, wow, what an amazing person. And then how can you tell if they are actually having healthy amount of self-love or not? But you already answered that. Listen to your feelings. Yes.
And there's that energetic exchange. I think for me, energy is very important. And when you leave somebody, if you feel uplifted and like you've gained value, then there's been a good sharing, there's been a good exchange. Often you might see somebody who looks like they epitomize self-love, but you leave them feeling really tired and drained. And I think that's key, is that you were definitely giving more in that exchange than they were. And yeah, that comes back to that true self-love, authentic self-love.
Oh, that's good to hear. We actually have a nice comment here from Simona on Simona Vincenzi, who also was on my show. Thank you, Simona, for joining us. It's so good to see you watching us. But Simona here is saying, brilliant interview, Olga Geidane and Diana Grant. Hey, it's nice. It's nice. Yeah. Thank you for joining us. And he says, what a great duo. Well, because we're all about self-love, right?
Yeah. Yes. Thank you, Simona.
Thank you, Simona. Yes, thank you so much for joining us. It's really fascinating how often people confuse these appearance of self-love with the true self-love. And I love the fact how you beautifully described it. You can always tell by the feeling, how you feel about that person. Do you feel connected to them? Do you feel energetically you're completed? Or do you feel like empty and drained after that? And I must say, to me, it was such a journey to get rid of people like that in my life. And people always ask, what about family members? You can pick and choose your friends, but you cannot pick and choose your family. So how can we deal with those people in our lives who don't love themselves, but they poison you? You know what people I talk about, Diana?
I do.
Exactly.
One of my favorite words in life is boundaries. Boundaries is the way to deal with that. And I think personal boundaries can be put in place in a very loving way. And again, that comes back to self-love. So when there's this good, strong practice of self-love and there's that self-knowledge, I think it becomes a little bit easier to be able to put down boundaries. They're not solid walls. They're not hard, like, you're never going to come past here again, walls. But they're just like, that's my boundary. This is sacred. You can't hurt this. You can't damage this. And just with the response, I find when my response is a certain way, when I'm in a good self-love space, which I try to be in all the time, it's my, as you know, my mission in life. Yeah. I find that my responses are different. And the negative, the ones we talk of, if they just don't come to me. They don't want to, because it's not fun anymore, because that exchange is not there. Because I'm in this good feeling space, taking care of myself, loving myself, being sure of where my boundaries are, it's not fun for the negative person, the person who wants to bring me down, because they can't. So the exchange shifts, and then they'll move on to somebody else, which, unfortunately, we all have our journey to get to the point where we can do that, place that healthy boundary. Yeah.
I love it. But you see, I wonder here, it just came to my mind right now, I'm channeling quick questions. I'm wondering, how do you think is connected, what's your opinion on this, self-love and trusting yourself?
Wow, Olga, I'm busy with the next book. My next book, and this book is called Love Me Beautiful, and the next one is called Trust Me Beautiful. Because I think, that was good. That was very, very well channeled. Well done. So I believe they are intrinsically linked, because I think trust and love go hand in hand, absolutely hand in hand. And knowing yourself allows you to trust yourself. Yeah. So the more you love yourself, the more you get to know yourself. And the more you know yourself, the more you can trust yourself. And then it allows you, like you mentioned, relationships, whether they're healthy or whether they're not healthy for you, they don't feel good. You have that trust in place where you can know what's right and what's wrong for you, without having to make excuses, without having to justify, without having to lash out. There's no need for sort of anger or hatred. It can all just be very peaceful and beautiful and clear. And so I think they go hand in hand. Self-trust is a biggie. And yet I'm writing about it.
So they're going to have to do with another book. That is exciting. That's really exciting. And I think you're absolutely 100% right. Because very often when I would work with my clients and they would say, I don't trust others. And my question always is, do you trust yourself?
Absolutely.
It's remarkable to see the answers or to hear them. It's like, of course I do. Like, really?
Yeah. Exactly.
And then
Exactly.
deeper, and you see that they don't trust their choices, they don't trust their decisions, they're indecisive, they don't trust what they're doing in life, they hate their jobs or they hate their businesses. And it's remarkable to see the journey when actually we rebuild that trust, we rebuild it.
Yes.
Love, that self-love, how absolutely flourishing they are. And it's really remarkable to see how they really go hand in hand. It's really
Absolutely.
great. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited to hear about your new book then when it comes out. When it's going to be completed?
Oh my goodness. I want to complete it before the end of July. So yeah, I've
Okay.
put that on myself. And I think I might be a lot sooner than that at the rate I'm currently going. So yeah, I'll keep you posted.
Exciting. That means we can bring you back. We're going to keep you accountable. So everybody who's watching us right now, let's just
Great.
check on Diana once in a while. How is your book, Diana?
Good. Accountability is great.
Exactly, that's it. Oh, that's amazing. But then I've got the next question. I think this question everybody was also waiting for, right? Okay, so now we established that, okay, if you feel negative and things are not going right straightforward in your life and your health is not great, maybe you put on weight, maybe your financial situation is not that great, this all are indicating about your lack of self-love, right? Okay, we got that. We also got that we need to keep boundaries with people who are just those vampires and they don't love themselves. As a result, they just feed off us, okay? We got that. Now, what do we do next? In order to fall in love with ourselves, in order to love ourselves, what do we do next? What are your best tips and how many do you have of them?
Okay, I've got quite a few tips. The one that just keeps coming to mind today, though, is something that I learned over and over again in life, with so many opportunities to learn it in a bigger, better way. We all know that feeling of falling in love with somebody, and you just fall for them, and you feel completely smitten, and you think about them every 5 minutes, and it's just that fabulous feeling. My one tip is turn that around. Imagine that person is you, and those feelings. What do you want to see in yourself that would bring that feeling up, that like butterfly feeling, like, oh, I'm so excited to see that person. So turn it around, and if you can, as soon as you can start finding the things that would make you fall in love with yourself, then you work with those. I know that can seem like a bit of a big jump if you're in a bad space. Somebody who's struggling, it'll be like, oh no. That's why I fall in love with someone else, because I don't have that going on. So then I recommend small steps. Like I said earlier, I really, really believe self-care is a step towards that. So start with small, little, obvious self-care things. Start with giving yourself a lovely pedicure, on a Sunday night. Get a nice hot bowl of water and put some salt in it and some oils and soak your feet as if you would do for that person. So now I'll go back to imagine the person that you've fallen in love with and that you've got this little burning flame for, and think of ways that you would show them that you love them. That could be cooking a beautiful meal, and if there's no one around, do it for yourself. Cook yourself a beautiful meal, but make it conscious. This is for you. It's an act of love. Having a lovely bath with candles, going for a picnic, just finding ways, brushing your hair as if you're brushing the hair of a child that you care about, somebody that's sort of a little bit more vulnerable. Because when you've been without self-love, you are vulnerable. Yeah. And so it's those little acts, and then that will become a lifestyle. And it's just, I say good morning to myself first every morning. I get up, I go to the mirror, and I say good morning. It's usually good morning, gorgeous, or good morning, goddess. Good morning, queen is what I'm playing with at the moment. And it's just fun. It's just a fun way, it's like the first thing in the morning. It's like me loving myself.
I love that. And basically, guys, what they can do, of course, they can say, good morning, king.
Absolutely.
Good morning, God.
Yes.
I love that. And I think you're so right. When we love other people, we know exactly what needs doing. We spend more time with them. We surprise them. We do things for them. We tell them compliments. We make them feel special. Yes. And when it comes to ourselves, we usually say like, well, what's the point? And I must say sometimes I think I'm just quite lazy rather not loving myself, because I do love spoiling myself. But when it comes to cooking for myself, I'm like, no, I'd rather have a chocolate.
But you see, that's the area. Like, you would probably, if you were in a relationship, not feel like cooking for that person either. And you'd be like, I bought you a chocolate, baby.
Yeah.
So absolutely use your own love language and just, work with it like that.
That's true. Yeah. So if you don't want to cook for yourself, there's probably nothing wrong with that. It's just probably not into cooking, right? But I must say, I do get you completely. And as we just had discussion before this live show, I actually did tell you that I had 10 minutes. I was like, I'm going to my live show. I need to do my pedicure. Nothing to do with the live show. Yeah, but it is about how can I treat myself today? How and what can I do for myself every day? Because we don't love other people just once a week or once a month. We do it every day, and we do multiple times a day. So the same is about us. How can we love ourselves multiple times in a day? And I love the way how you start your day. Good morning, goddess. That's it. Copying that.
I have somebody at my door. Please.
That's absolutely fine.
Please I'll be back.
Even from the heaven. That's what it is. Oh, you know what? I absolutely love what Diana was talking here about, that self-love, the way how we can do it for ourselves, by ourselves. And I work with so many clients who come to me and they say, Olga, I would love to meet somebody. I would love to meet the one boyfriend or the one girlfriend, and to spend the rest of my life with them. And I always say, fall in love with yourself first, right? You cannot love your boyfriend or your girlfriend as much as you will love them after you fall in love with yourself. Because no other partner will ever make you feel the way you can make yourself feel happier, merrier, joyous, and everything else. And then when that partner comes, then you feel just like on a seventh sky, because not only are you in love with yourself, but then you can give so much love to other people. And this can be beautiful. And I'm just telling you, Diane, I'm not sure if you heard or not, but I was talking about how many people are waiting for the partner to come into their lives, to very often even, to make more money, to lose weight, to fall in love with themselves. And I always say, no, that's not with you. Fall in love with yourself. Do it for yourself, not for others. It should be done for yourself, goddess, for yourself, God and king and queen. Oh, I love this topic. This is so exciting.
And what happens then, Olga, you probably know, is when you will know from so many clients, is when you do wait for the person, you find that person, and then it runs out because the person can't give you what you don't have, and you can't give what you don't have. So the exchange becomes out of sync, and that's when the relationships fall apart. So it is so important to turn it around and practice and watch the signs.
Yeah, look for the attitude. And I must say, I don't have to even walk far. That wasn't my own experience. My previous relationship, when I wasn't in that relationship, I did not realize how low my confidence was. I did not realize how big was the gap between me and myself and that self-love. And only when I heard the way how he was speaking to me and how he was treating me, only then I realized, having my coaching hat, I was like, hang on a second, he's mirroring something here. I mean, there are lots of bad people in the world, right? But we allow them to treat ourselves that way. I mean, we're there, they are there, and they will be there. But it's up to you and your level of self-love and self-respect. How do you allow them to treat you? So once I realized that actually I did not love myself and I forgot about myself, I was so focusing on giving in relationships and being loving girlfriend and loving children to loving mom to his children, that I forgot about myself. And that was so painful to realize, we don't want to face that reality. We don't want. So to me, it was a journey of actually, okay, what do I do with my clients in this case? Okay, I just start working on myself. And it was miraculous change, how all of a sudden I felt such a big gap because he also did not love himself.
There we go.
Right? Yeah, exactly. So as I was working on my self-love and I was raising that up, the gap was just growing and growing and growing. And one day it was just, enough is enough. Because I was not agreeing to be treated the way he was treating me, but he wasn't treating me any other way because he was lacking that self-love. And things happen, he's now the ex, which is great. Ta-da! But it just shows how important it is to love yourself, because just from my personal experience, I experienced it myself. It is painful. And the first thing what you want to do, you want to blame them.
Yes.
Nothing to do with them.
Yes.
The mirror.
Exactly. Life is a mirror.
Powerful. Exactly. Yeah, it's so powerful. But actually, we have an amazing question from JJ UK. The question is, how do you help someone you love learn how to create boundaries?
That is such a good question.
Yes.
I really think, again, it comes back to yourself. So the best way we can help anyone that we love is to do it ourselves, so that they've got an example to see, so that we mirror the behavior that works for us in a loving, nurturing way. And by them seeing us blossom and bloom, that's the only thing we can ever hope for. To try and teach somebody that we love, in my experience, is a little bit of a wasted energy, because until any one of us is ready for something, we're not gonna embrace it. We're not gonna go down that road until we're ready. But if somebody near to us is embodying that, and we're watching them bloom and come into their own, that I think is the most powerful thing. The most powerful way to teach is to live. So yeah, to live it yourself.
They're all I love it. But that's so true. How can you teach anything if people are not ready for that? And you and I would both know, because since we're coaches, that when you want to help somebody, especially if it is your friend, you want to help them because they're going through something, and they don't ask you for help, the worst thing you can do is to offer your help.
Yeah.
Because then you don't coach me now.
Exactly. Yeah. And even if you're not a coach, and you sort of growing and getting stronger, and your self-love is showing, and everything's just it's on the up, it's all improving. Yeah. And you turn to somebody that you're in a friendship with or a relationship, and you say, oh, let me help you. Let me suggest this. They're just going to be like, get out of my face.
Exactly. And I have to remember here that there's a big difference between man and woman, because if you offer help to a woman, it's almost like women are expecting the help to be offered, because we like to be helped, we like to be looked after, and we like to be cherished and all the rest of it. So if we expect that help to be offered, and this is what we do on our planet of Venus, this is normal for us. So when we women go to men and we say, oh, do you need some help? For them, it's like, to doubt me?
Am I a failure?
Yeah. There we go. Exactly.
Yeah.
It's so important here to remember that if you see a man, he doesn't love himself, then just show him with your own example. Love yourself even more, probably. Just bounce off yourself and with your energy, and
absolutely
that loving sun ray.
And I think it's important to note that even if you're on a committed journey with self-love, and you're completely committed to it, as we are, life can throw you sometimes. Sometimes a curveball can come along, and it can be like an asteroid hitting your planet and throwing you right out of orbit. And that can really throw you off. It's about staying in touch with that, noticing that, getting back into your orbit. And I think when the people close to us start seeing that not only are we sort of blooming on this journey of self-love, but also when we get knocked off, we come back. It's that tenacity, the fact that self-love holds us, and that we get stronger as we go, and our comebacks are quicker than they were before. It makes such a good example, an absolutely beautiful example. And like you say, don't offer the help. Not to most men, 99% of men don't like their woman to say, hey.
No, manliness, them want to keep being masculine and bro, I'm alpha male.
Yes.
Dad doubt me. I gotta figure out myself, especially when you drive, right? Have you noticed when you drive and I'll be like, oh, I don't know how to get there. Let me just call somebody, or let me just ask, let me just stop. And with men,
no ways.
I'm gonna figure out. And I love it. And I think this is something magical about when men do that. And it's something magical when women do that. So there's nothing wrong or right.
Exchange is beautiful. Yeah. The balance.
Yeah. But I love the next question here. Are you ready for the next question, Diana?
Okay. Hit me.
Wonderful. So Maria, she's asking, so if we don't follow an inner feeling, does that mean a lack of trust on ourselves?
If we don't follow an inner feeling.
Yeah.
So my understanding of what Maria means is if she's got a feeling that she wants to do something and then she doesn't do it. That's how I'm understanding that question. So I think often yes. I think often it can be a lack of self-trust where maybe the thing seems too big. It seems too scary and you think, oh, I can't do that. I'm not going to do that. It could keep coming to you. Just an example, and I don't know if Maria will relate to this, but in writing this book, I kept writing. I kept starting the book and writing the book. And then I lost the book twice before I finished it. How? I would write it on a laptop and not back it up. And I'd get to a certain point. The interesting thing is, though, I would get to a certain point where I was almost done. So I was so close to the finish line, and then it was gone. And that had to happen twice before I realized I am so scared of this, and I need to trust myself because I know that I have to write this book. This is my legacy. This is my life. My inner feeling has been pushing me to write this book forever. And so now I have to make it happen. But my trust in myself had to build up because it was so scary for me. So I completely understand what Maria is saying. I can relate that feeling of this thing's so big. I don't want to do it. You don't. So I think, yes, it can be self-trust, but sometimes it can also be intuition. Sometimes we might have an idea that we should do something. And when we sit with it, maybe there is a lot of self-trust. And we know that, no, that idea wasn't the right idea. I'll wait for something else. So, Maria, I think it's about weighing it up and just really digging deep because you know the answer. You do.
I love that. And again, you're so right. And for me, it was a journey to learn how to trust my intuition. And the same happens with people whom I know or my clients. It's like you have this sixth feeling or inner gut or whatever you want to call it. Doesn't matter how you call it. This voice, like people call it, right? It's something what is deep inside of you telling you to do something. And how often that'll be something out of my normal behavior. And I'll be like, excuse me, do you mean this? Yes, I mean that. I'm like, who is talking down there, right? But I must say, every time I would follow these interesting voices or like sixth feeling or inner gut, magical things happen. Absolutely magical things happen. And you think, oh my God, I would never come up with that myself. And it's almost like you have inside of you something or somebody, which is directing you what to do. And it's I get why people don't do it because it is a bit scary. You know, it really is a bit scary when something is telling you to do something out of your normal behavior. And then you think, oh my Lord, that was the most beautiful thing I ever done.
Exactly. That's it. That's usually what happens when you trust that instinct and you've been pushed enough. Yeah. And then you do it and it's like, oh, why did I wait so long? Yeah,
very true. Maybe Maria here is just practicing trusting yourself, and even maybe recognizing you can start a little journal, a little like notepad. Just write down, today I trusted myself to pick my own lunch, or today I trusted myself to walk rather cycle to work, or today I trusted myself to pick something else. And just the more you recognize when you trust yourself, I think this when you learn that actually I do trust myself.
That's a very, very powerful exercise, that noticing and writing it down. Because, that just the journey. And when you realize, you're like, oh, wow.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, I do.
Yeah. We'd actually do it very often with my clients on their confidence. When they come to me, it's like, I'm not confident. Especially when they come like, big guys, like, big alpha male, like, rugby players. Like, I need to work on my confidence. I'm like, no, you don't. No, you don't, right? You're fine. You're fixed. You've got confidence. That's it. Tick. You can go.
Off you go.
Yeah, exactly. But it's amazing how many things we're missing out in our lives because we don't recognize we already are there. We
Yes.
already are confident. We already trust ourselves. We're already good at decisions. But because we don't pay attention to that,
That's
we
it.
think we're not.
Yeah, that's it. It's the paying attention. And then when you do pay attention, it's like, wow, that's me. And again, that feeds into the self-love because you can be like, oh, that's me. That's cool. Yeah, I've got this thing. And straight away, it enables you to give more because when you're recognizing what you have accomplished and that you do trust yourself, you do know yourself, you do love yourself, you're empowered again. So it's kind of like an everyday journey. Yeah.
That's very true, very true. Well, we have actually here a little comment from Howard. He says, love it. It's fortnight for me tonight. Let's start the journey, Howard, in that case. That's good. I love Tanya's actually comment. Tanya Sosa, she says, beautiful topic, Diana, and she gives like a high five. I am loving it. I so much agree with all that you are sharing. Love hard. Self-love is number one at all times in our lives. Another love heart. Our journey is so similar. I love you both so much.
Love you, Tanya.
So nice comment. So nice. Thank you so much. And yes, Maria says yes, absolutely. Well, thank you so much, everyone who is commenting here, and for your questions. I mean, we love questions. Don't we love questions?
Yeah, we love questions.
Exactly. It's amazing to get questions because then obviously it just creates the beautiful dynamic of this conversation. But then I'm so grateful for you sharing this tip about, doing things for yourself, whatever you would do for other people. Just going back to tips, how can we increase the self-love? Because now we answered all the questions. And I wonder, what would be your next tip about what else we can do in order to fall in love with ourselves even more? Like, okay, we start noticing maybe, you have beautiful hair and you tell yourself, okay, you have beautiful hair. But then what's next?
Okay. Well, I think for me, we've already touched on it a bit. It's paying attention to yourself. So it's that practice of noticing. So we all have attributes. Everybody, you get a job not because you're an idiot. It's because you have something to offer to that position in that company. Yeah. So I think it's about paying attention and noticing. So back to what we were saying, writing things down. When you do something well, and listening to people. People give us feedback all the time. So you mentioned a previous relationship of yours where you were being treated in a way that didn't work for you. Then something that's even harder for us to do, most of us, is to pay attention when we're getting positive feedback. So when we get that well done, that kudos, yes, it's like, oh, okay, thank you. First of all, receive it. Thank you. I received that. And mental note. Yes, that's what I bring. That's what I bring. So you start falling in love with your character, and the self-love develops. It's not just about self-care. It's about noticing, who am I? What am I made of? And what is my value offering? What do I bring? And that is vital. And then from there, to me, that route is what grows the personal legacy and who you really are, what your purpose is, and the value that you bring every day. Yeah.
Making these mental notes is so powerful. And you're right, not everybody maybe wants to write down, but people can just pay attention mentally. Oh yeah, that was a compliment. Oh yeah, I just was complimented about this. And this is so powerful. It is extremely powerful. But I wonder if, Diana, you have any crazy examples, maybe from your life, maybe from your client's life, when you were working on self-love and then magic happened or something extraordinary happened, can you think of something like, oh my God, or somebody started calling you the way how you were calling yourself because you started working on your self-love, like anything crazy, just like, I would love to know.
Well, one of the little things is I've always loved the idea of a queen. So that's been a little theme in my life. And I actually watched a webinar last week, and the woman that I watched, she's brilliant. If any of you have heard of her, she's called Layla Martin. Very, very good idea to look into her for every woman. but she did a Queen webinar and she described it so well because I thought, oh, I've always related to that title. I love the idea of the title. And she was talking how the Queen embodies the spirituality and the authority and the femininity. So it's like everything all rolled into one. I thought, oh, yes, that's why I've loved it. But this started years ago, this thing with my thing with Queen. And I was working with this concept and I met a friend of mine. Her name is Olga as well. She's one of my best friends from South Africa. And we met at work, became instant friends. It was like a one conversation and it was like, oh yes, I like you. And she called me Queen. She's like, Queenie. And I was like, oh yes, I've been working with that. I like that very much. I received that. She still calls me Queenie, which is fantastic. And then through the years, that just kept coming in. One day, randomly, my husband called me Queen. And I was like, oh, okay. He agrees. That's good. Another very, very good friend of mine bought this for me last year because I have other pendants. And she's just like, no, you need a crown, my darling. You need a crown around your neck, not other pendants. So that's one of the ones where I'm really, when I'm vibrating in that pure self-love energy and it's really strong, where the world just mirrors me in it. And for me, that the Queen theme has been one that just keeps coming back. More recently, it was in a group that I'm part of where the term Queen popped up again. And I was just like, oh yes, let's play with that theme again. I love that. Yeah, and then bigger things happening, like in the work life, where I was playing a lot with self-love, heavily at one stage, and I was actually very busy writing the book. The third version still took very long to write. So, yeah. But because I was working full time and writing, and I had a dream for myself, and I actually think I've mentioned this to you before in another conversation, but I took the idea to the owner of the company, and he just went, yeah, that's a great idea. Brilliant. And I had been working on acknowledging who I was, looking at the value that I bring, really trusting that my offering had value. And so when I went to him with my suggestion, he received it. He's like, yeah, great idea. Let's do it. Let's roll it out. And come back to me with a plan. And I was like, oh, and that was one of those moments where I walked away and I was like, yes, this is how fluid and flowing it can be when I'm backing me, when I know what I'm about, and I'm like there 100%. So yeah, I've had lots of amazing experiences like that.
I love it. And that's the thing, again, people mirror what you have inside of you. And if inside of you there's lack of self-love, lack of self-respect, they're going to mirror that. When you start speaking to yourself nicer, when you become more positive, this is when people mirror that as well. And as a result, you even receive the necklace with a crown. I think I need one now. I think I need one now. That's it. Actually, we have Howard here with a really interesting comment. He says, this talk has got me thinking. That's exactly what I want, Howard. I would say that people I know love me mostly, and yet I don't really love myself. How do I resolve that?
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's such a realization.
Yeah, I love that question.
First of all, Howard, that's amazing that you can just see that. Yes. And then to answer your question, I think it's about just stopping and thinking about why they love you. Yeah. Years and years ago, when I was exploring this whole concept initially, I did an exercise where I asked 3 people in my life, 3 close people, to write me letters about me. So basically, I asked 3 trusted people for a love letter. And obviously it didn't have to be all lovey-dovey, but it was about why they loved me and what the reasons were. And I was blown away. I got long letters full of stuff. I cried. I just cried. When I was reading them, I cried and cried. I was like, oh my goodness, if this is how they see me, then how dare I not see myself that way? How dare I? So yeah, Howard, I think you can ask, like we've said already in this chat, life mirrors it for you. So you will be hearing from the people who love you. I'm sure they've told you along the way, it's about receiving that. So hearing what they're saying and receiving it. And it's a bit hard at first because I think we're so trained to be with this humility thing, and I don't think it's necessarily valid, because I think we should know how to receive, and that starts with a simple thing like a compliment. So when people tell you why they love you, receive it and make a mental note. If not, write it down, write it in your journal, write it on the notepad on your desk. You'll find it later and you'll remember, oh yeah, that's the value of it.
Well, I love that. And you're so right, Diane. It's about finding what people love, what for, and falling in love with yourself because of that. This is so, so profound. I love it. Howard, I hope that serves you, and I hope that really, really helps you, because it's really magical tip. And I know it's quite challenging to ask other people to tell you about yourself, because it's almost like begging for compliments. It's almost like, fishing for compliments. But actually, if you just explain that this is my journey and I'm working on myself, could you please help me? And then it's actually an answer from Howard. He says, this is helpful. Thank you. Oh,
great.
Howard, we would love to hear if you've done it, and we would love to hear about the results. If you could, once you did it, if you could please post below the video on YouTube or either Facebook, because we're on both platforms right now. That would be tremendous, because we would love to find out. And Diana, maybe there's another way how he couldn't get in touch with you and let you know about that.
Absolutely. That would be wonderful. I would love to hear from Howard. You can go to my website, or you can email me. Olga, all my contact details all on here. I think they are. Okay, great. Yeah, so social media or email or my website. Please let me know, Howard. I'd love to connect. I really, really would.
Oh, that's amazing. Yes, I'll make sure all the details are definitely below the video, and also they're right now in the description of this video today as well, so you can find them there. And it's amazing how Howard says, I think I have something in my mind, in my eye now. Oh, that's good.
Oh, fabulous.
We made something emotional. I love that. I love it. Honestly, you know what I have on my desk? Oh, right now it is under my laptop to tea.
All right.
But I have a tissue box, and every time when clients come to my office, they're like, why is there a tissue box? I'm like, you're going to find out later.
Exactly.
And Howard, it's beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful. Being emotional, again, means connecting with yourself. You're in touch with yourself right now, and you got to your inner child, to that inner boy. And we're all adults, but we all have inner boy, inner girl. And right now you're connecting with that. And it's time to love that. How would you love your inner child? If that would be a baby in front of you, what would you do to it?
That's a key.
Cherish. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Oh, it's so wonderful. Dana, I could talk to you for ages. I love the subject, and I think we need to bring you back and talk more about that, because, I have an idea. And I want people who are watching us right now what they think about it. I have an idea. How about bringing you back to talk about self-love, but in terms of personal journey?
Love that.
You're speaking about relationships and how important is self-love in terms of relationships, but I think it will be quite important to actually talk about self-love in terms of personal journey. So
I would love that.
When we on the way to find our passion, on the way to find our mission, how can we use that self-love in order to be aligned and loving our work, loving our businesses? Would you
along the way? Absolutely. I love that idea. Yes.
That's great. And I wonder what other people think as well. If you think we should invite Diana back, please let us know which. I'm thinking to invite her back on to talk about this personal journey show, to talk about how self-love actually can help you in terms of finding yourself in career and business. But if you think about what other show we need to bring Diana back, that would be definitely helpful, because I'm definitely bringing her back for your author show with your next book, which should be out by July.
It'll be finished. It'll be finished by July. I'm busy contacting a big publishing house and hopefully getting both of them to them. So,
wonderful! How sexy is that? This is wonderful. I love that. Yeah. Diana, I know you have a fabulous course. You have a
Yes.
fabulous course. Could you please tell us more about it before we finish off? I know we have to finish like soon,
Oh,
but
yeah,
please
okay.
could you share a few details? Because I know it is amazing and I would love more people to hear about that.
Oh, fantastic. Yeah, at the moment, so the new one, which is really, really exciting, it's called Embrace Your Goddess Body. Um, and it's about connecting with your physical form as a step towards, it's kind of like the first step towards true self-love. So yes, I've called it Goddess Body, but it really is, it's not gender biased. I believe goddess energy resides in all of us. So whether you want to adapt the word to change it to God or king or queen or stick with goddess, use it however you like. However, for me, it's about the energy. And the course is all about connecting with yourself through your body, because basically we are physical. While we're here in this life, we're physical, and this body, this is where we live. So that's the whole ethos of the course. It's a nice short one. It runs for 7 days, so it's quite powerful. It's quite punchy. Gets going right from day one. And you really reconnect with yourself through reading stuff. There's some reading stuff to do. There's an activity each day for you to sort of work with yourself, very short, which is nice. And then there's an affirmation. So throughout the day, you use that affirmation, you work with it, think about it. I know somebody who's doing it now, who was listening in on this call just now, our friend Tanya. She carries the affirmation around with her, which I think is amazing. So wrote it down on a piece of paper, put it in her pocket, took it with her. Love that idea. And then there are meditations as well for each day. So I've tried to make it really, really simple and short, because I have a morning practice. Lots of people do have a morning practice, whether it is that you get up and you do exercise or meditate, all of the above, or whether it's that you sleep past your alarm, snoozing it 10 times, because I know my hubby loves to do that. That's his morning practice. Or coffee or whatever. So because the course is nice to do in the morning, because you can carry the energy through the day with you, I've made it like quite nice and short and easy. And so it's 7 days, and it's really connecting with your body, and through your body connecting with yourself again. So it's all fun on your side.
That's really good. That's really good. Well, I must say, I'm due to start that. You know what? I cannot stop learning in my life. I'm so hungry for learning, and I always learn something new. So I'm due to start your course. I'll give you feedback and everybody else. But we have amazing feedback here from Tanya. Tanya says, she's saying, I truly recommend it, and lots of exclamation marks on YouTube. She says, and it's very powerful, and I am loving it. Thanks, Diana. And I love heart. That's amazing. Yeah, we also have another comment here on YouTube from Loretta Haddad. She says, Diana is my old school friend, and you make me so proud. Oh, this
hi, Lonnie.
I love that. It's amazing. So, and Maria, she is so kind. She answers back to Howard saying, that's when we grow so much, Howard. Agreed, ladies? About something in the eye. Remember that?
Yeah.
Howard had something in the eye. Thank you for sharing that, Howard, with us. And we have another comment. We have so many comments. It's so nice. Another comment from Zelda van der Verschuizen. I'm sorry if I don't read your name the right way. I'm sorry. I haven't said it before. But
well done, Olga. That wasn't bad. That's an Afrikaans surname. Van der Westhuizen. You didn't do too badly.
I did it. That's good. Love this show. You are a true inspiration. Thanks, Diana. Oh, it's amazing.
Thank you.
When you're full of self-love, that's how much love you receive back. It's fabulous. We have another comment here on Facebook from Jamie Lee Silver. Thank you, Jamie. She says, the best self-love radius from the two of you. Oh, how amazing is that? It's fabulous. Well, thank you so much, everybody who was watching us. It was amazing to have so much love and so many comments and so many great stories here. I loved it. Honestly, I so much enjoyed it, Diana. I mean, you are the goddess of all these self-love and self-respect and everything what relates about just being in touch with yourself, in yourself. I love it so much. I really appreciate you coming here. Everybody who would like to find about the course, it is on your website, I believe so, right?
Yes, it is.
Yes.
And so
And so is the book. There we go. What we need is definitely the link to the course. So let's make sure it's definitely below the video. We'll make sure
Right.
it's there for you. And there's another comment from Howard. He says, "This hour has been so good. The best one so far, Olga. Please don't tell Steve." Okay.
Thank you,
Diana.
Howard.
Sorry, Howard. I just read it. So it's out there. But we're not going to tell Steve. I promise I'm not going to tell Steve. But it's amazing. I'm really, really happy that everybody enjoyed this show. This is what it's all about, to help you to learn more about yourself, how it can improve your life, how it can improve your relationships, your finances, and everything else. Because in your life, everything is connected just like a domino effect. When, for example, you don't love yourself, your relationship will not work out. Your finances will not be on the top. You'll be not even looking after your health, your body, and everything else because you don't love yourself. It's like when you don't love your partner, you don't do anything for them. You just ignore them. The same with ourselves. So let's listen to what Diana says. Love yourself. And Diana, thank you so much. I appreciate you being on the show. I'm so looking forward to have you back with your next book.
Thank you, Olga.
Trust Me Beautiful, right? It's called.
That's it. Yes.
Yes. Let's say all of us accountable. Let's nag Diana every day so we can receive the book as soon as possible. And wherever you do, everybody, wherever you are today, enjoy your day. Love yourself and stay in love with yourself.
Yes. Love yourself. Love your life. Thank you, Olga.
Thanks, Diana. Take care.
You too. Bye, everyone.